The Game Boy Advance was their home to a who's who of the greatest platform heroes of all time. Seriously, what other format in the early 2000s could boast bounding superstars from Manic Miner, Samus Aran, the Belmont family, Donkey Kong, Rayman, Mega Man, Kirby, Crash Bandicoot, Klonoa, Spyro, Banjo and Kazooie, and of course the Twin Towers, the very first time both of them had released a platform game on the same format, Sonic and Mario. The answer to that is the Game Boy Advance. And it's always important to have the right answers. Just ask any heart surgeon. If they don't have the right answers, you're dead. But never mind the fat plumber or the spiny blue bonfire nester. No, there was no better or more famous platform star on the whole of the Game Boy Advance than David Beckham. Wait, what? Yes, indeed, David Robert Joseph Beckham, retired professional footballer, ex-captain of the England team, formerly of Preston North End, Manchester United, Real Madrid, LA Galaxy, AC Milan and Paris Saint-Germain. Husband of a Spice Girl, style icon, much loved international ambassador, president of the ridiculously named Inter Miami, and potential ex-lover to a woman in Rebecca Lewis who wanked off a pig on telly. Beckham was, from the moment he netted a goal from the halfway line against Wimbledon in 1996, an absolute superstar of the game, at a time when the sport was awash with top-tier talent like Zidane, Figo, Ronaldo, Roberto Carlos, Ronaldinho, Bergkamp and Valderrama. Was he as good as those players? Well, no. He wasn't particularly swift, he wasn't great at dribbling or tackling, and he never scored a lot of goals in any of the seasons he played. But Beckham was no slouch either, having an incredible passing range, the best cross in world football, a deadly free kick, a commitment to the game, and the steely determination that saw him influence the results of as many games as his more illustrious world-class colleagues and counterparts. I'd like you to have a look at that game against Greece in 2001 and tell me that that wasn't an incredible moment. Plus, he looked proper dreamy, didn't he? With all his silly haircuts ranging from 90s boy band all the way to handsome East End dad. David Beckham was a sexy man, lusted after by blossoming schoolgirls, bored housewives, men who prefer their bananas pink and as rigid as a femur, and why, he could even make a granny moist in a place that she thought long arid. Beckham was the tabloid darling of the time and had a real love-hate relationship with them. He supplanted former generation legend Paul Gascoigne, and he was succeeded by Wayne Rooney. I think we can all agree that Beckham was the looker of that bunch. He came along at the real dawn of celebrity culture that still exists with us today, and he used it to merchandise and market himself in all manner of ways, to the point where they even called it Brand Beckham. And at the peak of his powers as both a footballer and a multimedia darling, it made sense that a software house would like their name attached to that Beckham brand. Sports stars often had licensed games after all, and even though the pair of FIFA and Pro Evolution Soccer franchises from EA and Konami had a complete stranglehold in the PS2 and Xbox era, it was still a time unlike now, when a different soccer title could make a decent amount of cash should it be marketed correctly. And who better than the one-man marketing machine that was David Beckham to have such a game named after him. It was Liverpool-based software house Rage that wanted to ride Beckham's sarong strings to glory. And as a successful development team that had expanded and recently become a publisher themselves, what better way to make an impact than to acquire the rights to one of the most famous sportsmen in the entire world? It was also a great fit for Rage 2. Their first developed games were the Striker series, which would get numerous sequels from their beginnings on the Amiga through the 16-bit era of consoles to the PlayStation and Dreamcast. EA also gave them the coding job for FIFA 97 on the aging Super Nintendo, and Microsoft allowed them to code Microsoft International Football 2000 for the PC. They knew their way around a football pitch, which is pretty easy to be honest, isn't it? It's flats. There's a goal that end, there's a goal that end, there's some corner flags over there. I think we all know our way around a football pitch. Coming just after that Greece goal, and on the cusp of a tournament that England were among the favourites to win in Japan, with DB7 debuting as captain, Rage were surely going to clean up, weren't they? What could possibly go wrong? In short, the game. Released in 2002 on the Xbox, the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2, with those versions programmed by Rage themselves, and the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance coded externally by Majesco and Yo-Yo Entertainment. Well, they weren't awful football games, they just weren't as good as Pro Evolution Soccer or FIFA, in a similar manner to how the Striker games weren't as good as Sensible Soccer or ISS. Always the footballing bridesmaids, never the footballing brides were Rage. A Metacritic score of 65 out of 100 saw David Beckham's Soccer underperform in its sales, which, if not the final nail in Rage's very brief 3-year stint as a publisher, certainly didn't do them much good. Neither did their other big license, the Rocky series, that came out the following year. The Game Boy version of David Beckham Soccer, though, wasn't even average at all. It was just rubbish. IGN gave it a 2.2 out of 10, criticising its lack of AI and simplistic control, and said it provides no fun. So that seemed to end David Beckham and his role as a cover star of his own video game. He would just have to join the crowds in the FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer games, I guess. Or did it? Not quite. You see, there was another game to come. In 2001, Scottish games developer Denki had made a charming little puzzle game for the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance called Denki Blocks. Hey, wait a minute, that's the name of their company. It gained good reviews in the 8 and 9 areas of the scale, with praise for its challenge and crisp, bright colours. The game would later appear on iOS, PSP, and even as a game on Sky Television. Did you know there were games on Sky Television? I didn't have Sky growing up. I had to eat out of bins while watching ITV. Denki's next game would be this curious bloody thing, a platformer starring England's biggest post-millennium football superstar. And so without further Freddie ado, you see what I did there? Let's go and have a look at this. Go Beckham adventure on Soccer Island sees the titular star removed from Manchester's grey skies and perpetual rain to the meteorologically varied shores of Soccer Island. Soccer Island is a footballing-obsessed archipelago that has become beset by one evil Mr. Woe, an absolute turd of a man. And he's gone and turned all the land's beautiful animals into monsters. Monsters who all have a football-themed name, naturally. Beckham's only friend in this peculiar mission to save the island from destruction is a coach with a passing resemblance to an ageing version of Mario. Well, ish. He's short, he's fat, he's a moustache and a hat. I think I've just made a chant up about Mario. And anyway, that's Mario enough for me, and it helps set up the next part of the video. God, can't you see I'm trying to set the next bit up? See, the coach is not the only thing that looks like Mario. The island itself resembles SNES classic Yoshi's Island. The little map he moves around looks an awful lot like the one from Mario World 2. In terms of inspiration, there's a lot of worse places you can draw for your platform game. And much like the man himself, it's a looker too. The thick lined graphics are crisp, they're chunky and they're gaily coloured, and the landscapes, well, they look absolutely incredible on the Game Boy Advance. It's a wonderfully realised look that should definitely be in the conversation for one of the platform's best looking titles. It's easily the best European 2D platformer that I've ever looked at with my two irises. I'm sorry about that, hello cartoon fun. We'll have a conversation about it later. Gameplay consists of you as the chibi version of Beckham, running, jumping, dribbling and using your football skills to collect items, destroy blocks and defeat enemies in a variety of different ways. The enemies have different weak points and you have to deal with them in a different manner, all of which include hoofing a ball at a part of their body. Now, this isn't an original idea at all. Soccer Kid had you as a football kicking platform star, as did the Super Nintendo adaptation of forgotten 90s cartoon The Hurricanes. Not to mention Marco's Magic Football. With that said, Go Beckham Adventure on Soccer Island does that concept by far the best, with crisper controls, better game design all round, and a level of puzzling challenge that is both fair and enjoyable. As you progress through the game, you unlock bonus skills that enhance your abilities, such as the ability to recall the ball back to your foot and the ability to steer the ball with greater bend. There are a variety of other balls you can pick up, such as the one made out of steel and the beach ball that bounces around like crazy. There are 40 levels set across 5 zones, and perhaps in one of the game's biggest failings, they don't really alter in look beyond a shift in the colour palette and the increased use of different topological features such as a mountain or water traps, which become more frequent as you go through the game. It should be noted here that David Beckham apparently cannot drown, which, should marital relations ever fail with Victoria and she feels like bumping him off for that life insurance, is something she should perhaps be wise to bear in mind. Murder him in a different manner, Victoria Beckham. The actual level design, though, in terms of its gameplay, it's solid enough, as good as some of the creme de la creme of the 16-bit era platformers like Robocod, say, if not quite as creative as a Mario World. You can go back to completed levels at any time, which you may want to do, as they feature bonuses that you may have missed in a previous playthrough, including a series of balls that spell his name should you hoof them through the hoop that represents the game's literal goal. Don't worry, you don't have to be Beckham and struggle to spell your own name. There's a letter per level in each of these stages. It's something that you may or may not choose to go back to. If you're a completionist, it will make the game's challenge a lot harder. It's up to you, really. Bosses, which are cast as managers, all offer unique challenges at the end of the level, but they, like the rest of the game, really shouldn't prove to be overly difficult. It's not a frustratingly tricky game at all, as it was marketed to younger players, and will perhaps, if you don't go back and collect all the items in the game, provide a few hours of gameplay, but I can only assure you they will be hours well spent. Go Beckham has absolutely no right to be as engaging or pretty as it is, coming so soon after the disappointing proper football efforts in the Rage series. It ends up being one of the very, very best platform games on the system that didn't derive from their system originally. I'm talking about all those Super Nintendo ports. Reviews were positive, with Eurogamer saying that even if you hate football and Beckham, it's still worth slipping into his boots, and they gave it an 8 out of 10. IGN, while not as into you, still gave it a 7 out of 10, and they said that it's not a first-class title, but it still beats out the vast majority of the third-party Game Boy Advance platformers. I've got to say personally that as a surprise, it's certainly more the free kick against Greece than that surprise that the pig got when it went to work with Rebecca Lewis on that Channel 5 show. Like, subscribe. Okay, thanks, bye.